Hello, class. My name is Dahlia Ferguson, and I'm here to do the discussion post on Christian worldview and psychopathology. When we're looking at psychopathology from a Christian worldview, psychopathology can be defined as the manifestation of mental, emotional, or behavioral disturbances that reflect a deeper spiritual brokenness, and that is relating to humanity's fallen nature, and that is coming from Genesis 3. This view acknowledges that while there are biological, psychological, and environmental factors that influence mental illness, the root of all suffering including abnormal behavior, ultimately stems from sin and separation from God. However, this view also recognizes that there is hope through healing, also God's grace, community, and appropriate interventions. The secular view of abnormality is different because this is focusing on observable symptoms, and there's a diagnostic criteria for the symptoms of abnormality. According to our text, Kring et al. 2020, abnormal behavior is defined through the 4 Ds: deviance, distress, dysfunction, and danger. And this framework evaluates how behavior departs from social expectations, and it also impairs functioning. Recent scholarly literature that I have read emphasize the biopsychosocial model, which integrates biological, psychological, and social factors. For example, Osborn et al. 2022 advocates for trauma-informed care in clinical settings, also emphasizing how early experience shapes psychopathology. Meanwhile, Reichenberg and Seligman 2020 argue for a holistic, person-centered approach that includes spirituality as a meaningful aspect of mental health treatment. And I do agree with that. So I wanted to just take out some biblical references from the Bible. And in the Bible, abnormality is seen in various forms. We are looking at the life of Elijah. It shows signs of depression, fear, and hopelessness, pleading with God to take his life. We also have the life of King David, and David went through several different emotions in the Bible. So when we refer back to Elijah, 1 Kings 19 verse 4, what God does is he responds with care, and he provides rest, food, and he also provides reassurance. In the New Testament, Jesus also healed the suffering from both physical and mental ailments, showing that there is compassion and restoration. And in Matthew 4 verse 24, there are different examples of how Jesus reflects a holistic approach to abnormality, including spiritual and emotional and physical care. Looking at King David, he was a man who was after God's own heart, but he went through a lot of different emotions in the Bible. He went through despair and depression, guilt and shame, anxiety and fear, spiritual confession and renewal. And he talks about all of these things in Psalms. Despair and depression, he talks about it in Psalms 42 verse 11, when he cries out, asking why his soul is downcast and what is being disturbed within him. Guilt and shame after his sin with Bathsheba. In Psalms 51:3, he pleads with God for mercy. And in Psalms 55 verses 4 and 5, he fled from Saul and his own son Absalom, and he is writing about his fear and anxiety in that chapter. And then finally, David talks about his spiritual confession and renewal in Psalms 51, when he's asking God to give him a clean heart and renew his spirit. So in conclusion, while we have that secular view that provides structure, diagnostic, and treatment tools, the Christian worldview is one that has a redemptive lens, and it sees that individuals are created through God's image, who are worthy of love, worthy of healing and restoration. And I do believe that integrating both the Christian worldview will help with a more holistic and deeper healing. Thank you.